rebel swear guilty to the throne. He stole operation while rolling over the doctor's holding. Get to robbing, his own hobby is get body. Seen it once running up, buttering, letting slug, never cross, stationers, fucking dancing for lucky ballots. Cast for the most battle, the plunking. I can leave some actors so chunky, we spit like poverty, some funkin'. The caliber, the capital, the carry on the lineage. How the harbingers of God new world.
Hello, this is Zeus of the Friends of Zeus podcast. Tonight we are going to be talking to Mr. Mike EP. We all kind of wanted to talk about Project Veritas tonight, just to get some impressions. Everybody's done a little bit of research. Just want to kind of talk about it. Before we do that, let's get the business out of the way. You can find us on Friends of Zeus podcast on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Spotify and Anchor. Again, there are rumblings on Rumble. I think we're going to increase our presence there. And you can now find us on iTunes as well. If you want to, you can email us at foz@friendsofzeuspodcast.com. And that, as I said, is the business. I guess Tom kind of set up some backdrop for us to go on with this Veritas thing. It's certainly interesting. I want to learn more about it. I just got a dabble of information on it, but there we go. Mike, did you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, what you've been doing?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm Mike, and I do a podcast. I've been doing a podcast for the last, 6 going on 7 years, I think. We got like 415 episodes, or 416 as of tomorrow. And I've also traveled around the country as a musician. I'm currently in a reggae band called the Skanks Roots Project. I still work in music. I still do all that, but I recently, not recently, shit, it's been like 3 or 4 years now. I moved from California, Southern California, to Ohio. And in lieu of the pandemic, I got to get a full-time job now because the music gigs kind of dried up in little town Toledo, Ohio. So I don't really have that on my side anymore. So I'm looking for gainful employment, which I'm finding some good luck, maybe in the cannabis industry. So hey, why not?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Hey, I think I have a pretty good chance. It'll be fun.
All right, cool.
Yes, sir.
And now, is this as a customer or as a salesperson?
This is actually working behind the scenes where I'll be actually handling the plants, part of the growing process and the processing process. So I have some experience in trimming. I've trimmed up in Northern California and what is known as the Emerald Triangle. And I've also done my own grow operation in Southern California and San Diego, where it was completely legal. Not the Emerald Triangle. I don't know about the Emerald Triangle one. That was a long time ago. There was some drunk guy walking around with a 45 shooting into the ground. So that wasn't really. But when I was growing out in California, it was a legal operation, and yeah, it was really fun. So I'm gonna try my hand here in Toledo, Ohio. So yeah, that's good.
What's the podcast? What's the name of the podcast?
My podcast is called We Speak English Good, which is primarily a music podcast, but we definitely delve into politics, whether the audience likes it or not. For whatever reason, my audio side of it has blown up last year, and I'm only guessing it's because of the content I do talk about. And I'm not saying blown up like, Joe Rogan or anything, but we're about 1.8 million total listens in the years that we've been on, and
Wow.
we get around 130,000 downloads a month. So it compared to the year before, where I was getting about 4,000 to 10,000 downloads a month. It's kind of take on a life of its own. So yeah, in my humble opinion, we've blown up, but it's nothing crazy or anything.
Do you do like weekly or like you're on daily?
I do twice a week. So I have two podcasts. So I'll be releasing a podcast tomorrow, Wednesday, and I'll also be releasing a podcast on Friday. They're all based off of my Twitch stream, which I started back in 2020 when the pandemic took over. And I just take my live my live stream and I just put it into the audio form, and then I just send it out into the world, mostly unedited. I will edit sometimes, but that's only at the request of guest, or if I say something truly reprehensible, which I've been known to say.
And did you start out doing like video games on Twitch or what?
Nope,
Or-
I've only done this podcast on Twitch.
Okay.
Twitch had been around for a long time before I joined it, so they've already sort of built out these different sides of it. Most people think of Twitch as a video game platform, but
Right.
That's what I thought.
yeah, exactly. But it's
You got
it's
your
also.
headset. You look like a gamer there.
I understand. Yeah, no, I'm a straight up podcaster. I do play music on Twitch as well, sometimes with my wife or on my channel. My wife is doing much better on Twitch than I am, but I love my humble little community, and it makes for great conversation, and it's a great way for people to sort of fans of the podcast to come and be a part of the show. And so it's been an awesome platform for that. And it really does help when you have, I mean, not necessarily help. It adds to the conversation when you can kind of bring in the community to bring them into the conversation, because they add so much that sometimes I'm not even thinking about the things that they're talking about, or they'll add something to the conversation that I've never, from an angle I've never seen. And we're able to sort of explore that and go into that. And this platform is just great for that. And also, I get to do things like, where is it?
Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
Or this. If it works, I don't know if it'll work. Never mind. Sometimes shit works, sometimes it doesn't.
Are you taking notes, Zeus?
Yeah, I'm thinking we got to do this Twitch thing.
Yo, it's really fun. I mean, if not Twitch, you should check out YouTube. YouTube does an awesome, if you guys already have a presence on YouTube, you could think about YouTube as well. They have an awesome streaming setup as well.
It's a growing presence.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Slowly growing.
Is this also video? You guys put this up on YouTube as well?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Spotify, you know.
Yeah, audio and video. Cool.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, we have video on Spotify as well.
Oh yeah, that's
I got
right.
in
You
on
can.
the beta.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to look into the Twitch. I mean, I've seen it, and I knew that people were doing stuff other than video games. It's just, you know, it's the stigma that it's taken is that it's all video games. So I'll have to look into that and get us on there as well.
Well, it's definitely a next step, and it was a lot of work for me to get on here and understand what I'm doing. It took me a long time to know. The technology is insane. I mean, I'm sure you guys know the technology. They'll just switch from a 1 to a 0 and a 0 to a 1 on its own whenever it feels like. So all of a sudden, the thing that worked yesterday is now no longer works, or now every time I turn on my computer, some stupid ad pops up, and that's just there forever now, and you always have to X out of it. So
Yeah.
it's wild. It's a wild adventure, but once you get your head wrapped around it, once you get into like the streaming programs, which the main two are OBS and then Streamlabs OBS, which are the two free open source, very, very powerful streaming editing software. It's not really editing, I guess. It's more of just get your
Right.
stream out there. And
Well, we know what you mean, because we just fired our editor earlier today. So he's not here tonight.
oh, good.
Yeah, you're a replacement, Mike, tonight.
Oh yes,
This is a job interview. We didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Right on.
So, I'm sorry.
No, he's just drinking.
No, I'm just
some water.
Water.
yeah, I'm just drinking out.
So yeah, I guess without further ado, let's kind of go into Veritas and what it is, and do what we do from there.
Sure.
So, Mike, you said you wanted to talk about this. I mean, I've made some notes. I don't know. Is this something you have like some strong opinions on? Do you want to start, or do you want me to just kind of tell everybody kind of a background of what Project Veritas is, and then we can kind of go from there?
I like that. I like your start with you. I do have strong opinions on it. Not that I have strong opinions about Project Veritas. Not that I just like, I love this fucking platform. It's the best. They're the greatest or anything. But what's happening now with Project Veritas currently, I think is very important for people who do things like this, for journalism, for podcasting, for what's going on. So please, I'd love to hear your take on them.
All right. Well, they're kind of in the news lately. It's a Project Veritas. They were started by James O'Keefe. This was back in, I want to say, the early 2000s, late 2000s.
2009.
They're basically like, I guess they would define themselves as like guerrilla journalists. They do a lot of undercover. They reach out to whistleblowers and things like that to they're always trying to uncover any sort of scandal or waste or fraud or things like that, any wrongdoings and it doesn't have to be government. It can be like private companies as well. They've gone after like NPR, politicians, Twitter, they've got like secret audio from people that worked at Twitter that said that they were going to keep, censoring Trump, things like that. And then they're recently in hot water over this, the daughter of Joe Biden and her diary, and the Department of Justice raided James O'Keefe's apartment in New York and dragged him out into the street in his underwear and with handcuffs on and all that stuff. But I wanted to, are you guys familiar with the Acorn investigation that they did like way back? This was the one that kind of put them on the map.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on Jon Stewart, The Daily Show.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever heard about it was through The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and he's kind of dunking on him. Yeah.
Well, Jon Stewart is Zeus's favorite journalist, by the way.
That's right.
That's from like
That's
2
all
episodes
right.
ago. Zeus
That's
was
all
arguing
right.
about how Jon Stewart was a real journalist, and we were trying. Everybody.
I don't believe I took necessarily that stance. What I'm saying is that they're just all figureheads, and he's my favorite figurehead as far as, now not anymore. He's gotten pretty extreme, but there was a while where he seemed to be a kind of a conscience to a certain degree in relation to, what we were getting from the news. And then he would sometimes, I guess, read between the lines on it a little bit. He's courteous huh?
I said, Tom, he's trying to defend himself in this statement. It's okay, Zeus.
I didn't
let
say
it go.
he was a real journalist.
Let it go.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so you see this picture
Anyway.
behind me? These two, the pimp and the girl. So that's James O'Keefe. That's the founder of Project Veritas. So this is what got them started. So he dressed up as a pimp, and his I forget the girl's name, but she works for Project Veritas, and she dressed up as the prostitute, and they went to Acorn. Acorn was like a government-funded organization. I think it stood for Association of Community Organization, something. But they were this was under the Obama administration, and they were getting like money from the government. And they had offices all around the country. So I guess to help with like housing and, to help people in the community. So he dresses up as a pimp and a hooker, and they go into the office. I think the first one was in Baltimore, right? They go in there and they say, well, we want to open up a brothel. Can you help us out? And then they've got like the secret, wire and hidden video a camera and everything. And the people that work there, you think that they would just be like, oh no, get out, you know, but they were like, okay, we can help you. And then they started like giving them like advice on how to keep it on the down low. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to, don't give yourself away. Don't get caught. You know, these are some tips to avoid the police. And they started giving all these ridiculous, I mean, they would help them like try to set up their brothel. And then they went to DC to another office, same thing, same response. The people that worked for Acorn in DC, they were like, yeah, let me help you. This and I think when they finally got to like the Sacramento office, the person was like, yeah, you know, I used to be a prostitute myself, and I can give you all kinds of tips. And it's like, oh my God. So this just like everywhere they went, nobody seemed to object to them trying to open up a brothel. And just, I mean, look at them. I mean, if they came into your office, I don't know, I would have kicked them out immediately, but Acorn apparently doesn't seem to mind. So like they are obviously, you know, they got into all kinds of investigations, and you know, they ended up pulling all the funding for Acorn and shutting it down completely. It was a huge scandal. So I mean, that's kind of what that's their MO. That's what they do. I mean, now they get into trouble, I guess, and maybe Mike, you can piggyback off this, but I think where they get into trouble is they do kind of I don't want to say lie, but they kind of disguise the truth a little bit in order to get their foot in the door, to get the answers that they're looking for. Would you kind of agree with that?
I would say, yeah, they definitely use covert tactics to get what they want. They definitely use the you know, they'll videotape people without them knowing. Some of the things they've been accused of is actually editing video to make people look bad too. Although James O'Keefe, he claims that has never been true. I'm not sure about that. You know, I've never confirmed that, but that is what they say. But yeah, they do use deceptive tactics to sort of get you know, people to admit things. I mean, like they've had people from Pfizer talking about the vaccine. You know, they were part of exposing the NBC reporter who was going to expose the whole Epstein case, and they brought that to light. So they've also done some really good work on top of some, you know, questionable work. And, you know, and again, I'm not here to advocate for Project Veritas. I just find it fascinating what they're doing. And this whole idea, this whole Ashley Biden diary thing has really opened up a can of worms in regards to.
What's that? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So Ashley Biden has a diary that it hasn't been confirmed, but I would say if the FBI comes and kicks your door in before dawn and drags you out in your underwear, I'm guessing there's some sort of truth behind whether or not this is an actual diary. Or Ashley Biden's diary. Some of the things so the story with it is that when she was in Florida for rehab, she apparently left her diary and some other belongings at a friend's house, and that friend claims that she abandoned her goods. And then someone took that diary and ended up trying to sell it to Project Veritas for them to sort of release it. And what ended up happening is that James O'Keefe decided to kill the story and he actually turned the diary over, or tried to turn the diary over to the authorities. So he was going to do this a year ago, but what's the problem is that what's in the diary is you know, is the crux of the cracker here, because there is claims in there, you know, allegedly, if this is even Ashley's diary, there's claims of Joe Biden taking showers with her. It's just like very inappropriate stuff. Kind of on the level of this whole Hunter Biden thing where, you know, it's coming out now that, you know, I'm not trying to spread fake news or anything, but, you know, the reports that are coming out are saying that he was sort of intimate with his 14-year-old niece. So, so that's coming around, although you're probably not going to hear that in any sort of main outlets or legacy media. But you know, so Ashley Biden's journal or diary is important to the Biden DOJ for obvious reasons, because it makes his family look super creepy. Not that they have to work very hard to do that with old, you know, hair sniffer over there. So it's
and of course she was in rehab. It wouldn't be a Biden child if they weren't in rehab.
For real though, like you're absolutely right. I mean, Hunter Biden's been in rehab, and I mean, Hunter Biden's just a mess. Like that whole
with
story.
them losing their stuff. So Hunter just
that's
leaves
what I
his
was
laptop,
saying. Like they just
she
can't.
just leaves her diary.
They just can't keep their shit together. I don't know what
they're like the epitome of the people that need to have that handcuff that connects them to a suitcase.
They really do need to start carrying their personal belongings with them and chain it to themselves, because they just seem to forget things everywhere. And, you know, as someone who's done drugs in the past, I've made mistakes and I've left important things, wallets, cell phones, all these things while being under the influence. So, you know, I'm not trying to dunk on these two for having a drug problem, because I understand where that comes from. But, you know, these are people who are very connected to a very powerful head of state. And, you know, these
most powerful head of state
as of right now. Yes. The most powerful head of state. And, you know, as we all know, Joe Biden's had an illustrious career of being a career corrupt politician. So it's just all sort of coming to a head now that, you know, the internet exists and can sort of expose, you know, all these things. The interesting thing about the Ashley Biden journal is that you can find it out online. Someone leaked it already. So
yeah,
like
somebody else leaked it, not Project Veritas, but somebody else got a hold of it and
supposedly
printed it first. Yeah,
supposedly.
Oh, I see. You think that?
Well, Veritas
leaked it.
There's rumors that an employee of Veritas leaked it, but you know, that's hearsay, and you know, wherever that information comes from and whoever said it, you know, I don't know, but there is suspicion that maybe that Veritas, someone inside Veritas leaked it. So, yeah.
Or he just provided it to somebody else to leak it because he didn't want the stink on him. You know, who knows?
That could be true.
It made him look better by not publishing it, but it still got out there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep. Like he could sit there and say, well, I tried turning it over to the authorities.
He took the high road. Yeah.
Right. And meanwhile, it's out for everyone to read. I mean, I read it. It was awesome. It was amazing.
I didn't read it.
So I find it super fascinating, which, you know, really does suck for people who, you know, for anybody to have their personal information out there like that. But like we were saying, it's like how you could just leaving your personal information with all this crazy stuff written in it, same as Hunter with his laptop. You know, it's wild. But I think
they're on drugs. But I mean, if you got that much money, you can afford to have like a handler or somebody just follow you around or take care of you, clean up after you.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
Could you imagine being a handler for Hunter Biden? He's just sitting there smoking crack. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just clean up his crack when he's done, or like I'll clean up the mess after he's done molesting his niece. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, maybe that's not a good job.
I don't know, but there's people who do it.
Yeah. They're called Secret Service.
Exactly.
So I told you that we had Paul MacIsaac on last night, and I told him that I think there's still a lot of meat on that bone, and that his story's not done. And I think we are going to get more more out of that old laptop. I think it's going to just blow up, but
Absolutely.
we'll see.
You know,
But
I do want to just say before we get too far away from Ashley Biden and all of that is like the implications for this case that's going on right now in New York. The implications of freedom of speech and journalistic integrity, journalistic freedom is at stake here because the New York Times decided to, an hour after James O'Keefe was raided in November last year, he received a text from the New York Times,
Right.
asking about the raid. And so what we're seeing here is this strange coincidence or collusion between federal government, you know, the legacy media, and they're sort of, you know, how did they get that information? How did they know to text him an hour afterwards? And then they go and they start publishing lawyer-client privilege. They're exposing their sources, and they just did that, and that's so freaking illegal. Like, you can't just, I mean, first of all, you can't break lawyer-client privilege in general as a lawyer, you know, so how is it okay for them to do that? And they're sort of saying, the New York Times is sort of saying that they're not a real news organization, so they shouldn't be protected under, you know, under the First Amendment.
And neither is the New York Times.
Right, exactly. Who's fact checking these guys? How much misinformation and disinformation has the New York Times put out? I mean, let's not forget, you know, speaking of Hunter Biden, you know, what was it, right before the election, that story drops with the New York Post, and it gets completely censored off of all social media. I mean, it was a direct collusion between federal government, mainstream media, the social media, and corporate interest. I mean, it's
about that last night.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, I guess it comes down to who's holding the leash and who's the dog.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, how are they working in tandem? I mean, so the DOJ, the FBI is like weaponized and politicized to work for the administration, and then they're kind of, and then how is the New York Times knowing exactly what they're doing? Somebody's like, they've got like insiders like on both sides, I guess.
Well, that's how they function. They function as these people, these elite, you know, these elite people who think that they know the best, and they want that inside track with the government. They want those interviews. They want, you know, the New York Times, if they publish these articles, then you know they're a shoo-in for the big interview with Joe Biden or something, you know, like this is what they do now, right? Like this is how they stay in the in. And plus they're a dying breed. So anything to get more clicks, anything to stay alive, anything to keep the wheels running, you know? So they're just sort of, you know, they're just sort of, in a way, they're just trying to survive, right? They're just an organism trying to survive, and they're quickly being overtaken by, you know,
us
podcasts like this. Yes, exactly. And so there's a real fear. There's a real fear that they're losing their grip on the attention of the American public. And it shows, you know, it definitely shows that they'll do anything, say anything to maintain that spot. And the more that they do it, the more people see it, how disgusting it is. And I mean, it's just wild. They're trying to say that Project Veritas isn't a news organization. And they're also now trying to say that they were a part of the theft. They're calling it a theft. Even though, and it hasn't been established whether or not it's been stolen or not, but they claim it's been abandoned, so there was no theft. But even if it was stolen by a third party, as long as the journalist, it has nothing to do with it, as long as the organization has nothing to do with the theft, then they're protected under, what was it? It was a Barnicki v. Vopper was a case where it protects journalists from to publish stolen documents, as long as they as long as that the journalist didn't have anything to do with the stealing, I guess.
here's my thing. Everything is Watergate. It's
Russiagate.
You know, what's that?
Russiagate, yeah.
Russiagate, Pizzagate. But the point being is things that would normally be benign are now made to be so sensational. And even us, who I think that, I mean, I can speak for the guys on this show. I think we've got a good polite discourse, despite the fact that we disagree on some things. But even though we want to really like ask the questions rather than just spew out what we heard, we like to like really decide whether it's, you know, conspiracy or choreography. We're still looking for the clicks. Like, we were so excited to get this guy on last night, and he was great. He was fantastic. Just a nice guy. He told a story. But as much as we like him, we're like, God, I hope he gets us some clicks. And I mean, we've kind of got the stink on us a little, but I was talking to Tom about it today. It's like, we got to maintain the integrity of what we started with this with. Like, do I like Biden? Not so much. Do I like Trump? Not so much. I don't like any of these people, and I fucking hate the media. Yeah. I don't care which side. I think it's all corrupt. It's all painting the picture that supports your narrative, and you don't give a fuck if it hurts the people that got you that story or that story came from. There's just, integrity is so not involved in the media at this point. We're not living in a period of like, I mean, I'm just throwing out names, but I'd say the last journalist, and I'm not going to say Jon Stewart, you fuckers.
Here we go.
The last journalist that really kind of, you know, seemed like they might have cared was like your Dan Rathers, they seemed like they were newsmen. Cronkite, Koppel. What's that?
I said, I'm not even going there. Forget it.
I'm just saying that they seemed more like reporters, and like they delved into it. They got some of it on them. You know what I mean?
A big thing was with those guys is that there wasn't this weird slant on it. They were just boringly reporting the news, right? They were just saying,
"That's what I want.
Right. This is blah blah blah. Here you go." I would say that Matt Taibbi is a fantastic reporter who's now on Substack because he's way better. Matt Taibbi is an incredible artist, incredible journalist, and he wrote a book called, oh my God, what was that book called? Do you know, Jack? Oh, I can look it up. He just wrote a book about journalism, and it was so fantastic. And he talks all about this, and he talks about how journalism used to be like a blue collar gig, right? Like it would just be, you didn't need a journalism degree. It was just regular schmoes going out and getting the story. And now what it's turned into is this incredibly elite, you know, they're only picking from the highest, and you know, Harvard and Princeton and all these very elite left-leaning, which I consider myself very liberal in my politics, but you know, I guess the whole thing is called what is it? I'm a classic liberal, is what they say, right?
Yeah.
But now that's deemed as
Hate Incorporated.
Hate Inc. Is the one.
Business Secrets and Drug Dealings.
Right. No, Hate Inc. is the one. In on the cover they show Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow, and he posits that they're one and the same, which I would agree completely. They're all just bootlicking
two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. They're all just bootlicking to their corporate and corporate narrative from their party, you know, towing party lines. bootlicking the corporate interests, and they're just spewing the same amount of hate and garbage and division. It's just on two very opposite sides of the spectrum, and it's nonsense. It's nonsense, and it's all. I believe that it's there purposely to divide us. I believe that we're being divided on purpose to distract us from the powers that be. There's policies, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going into that are becoming policy right now that we're not paying attention to because we're so busy hating our neighbor and hating the white supremacist or the anti-vaxxer or the Putin sympathizer, like all these words that sort of come out to sort of dehumanize
you should have been on this show from go.
Are you saying there's a man behind the curtain?
But I would say so. I mean, when I know Donald Trump, deep state, and I know that sort of evolved from that, but there is a deep state. There is a group of people who aren't elected, who've been in government for years and years, and it's almost impossible to get rid of these people. And they're just there making decisions. And whether it's one or two people, I don't know. But there's definitely a collective. I mean, they had, what did they say? 50 top what was it? 50 top agents, I guess. God, I'm sorry, I'm slipping my words. I quit coffee a couple days ago, so my brain is not working right. But they had, what was it? It was on the cover of the New York Post. It was 50 top, spies, FBI agents that was saying that the Hunter Biden laptop is more than likely Russian misinformation. So you have 50 people who you didn't elect who are saying that this is what it is, and there's no other question, right?
Yeah. So where did they get that information? How did they know?
Exactly.
Did each one of them like individually investigate the laptop?
Yeah, but I mean, no. Go ahead.
No, I think what they said, the trick was they said they all agreed that it had like the hallmarks of Russian of misinformation. They didn't say it was.
Right.
So that way they could kind of get away with it and say, well, we didn't say it was Russian. We just said it looked like Russian information.
You know what? Here's the interesting thing about that is that even if there was
intelligent experts is what they're calling them.
Yeah. Okay.
Experts.
Here's my thing. My thing is at this point, once you go to cover it up, it kind of doesn't even matter what the fuck was on the damn hard drive. When you go to lie to the public, to the American people, it doesn't matter what reasons you're doing it for. It matters that you're lying to the American people. And that's what I have a problem with. I mean, I'd hate to think that they covered or they kind of sidetracked this whole laptop thing simply because it had a picture of Hunter snorting coke off a hooker's ass. You know what I mean? I'd hate to think that they just did it for that because fuck that, throw them under the bus.
Well, anything that would reflect badly on the Bidens at that time, because this was like October when it really came to the forefront. October of 2020, right before the election, and everybody, I don't know if it was a conspiracy or just everybody that supported Biden said, okay.
Well, wait a minute. Don't you think that the more critical information on the laptop was the corrupt dealings with Burisma and selling, peddling influence with the foreign
I don't know if that
government?
even came out that quick. They just like immediately said, nope, we're not going to print any of this or let anybody talk about it, even before they even knew what was on there, I think.
Yeah, they didn't even wait for fact checking. They said that they didn't have to wait for fact checking, that we have 50 intelligent experts signing off on that it's the hallmark of Russian misinformation.
But yeah, that was the most damning. That was the most damning information on there by far.
Right.
But I don't know if they were waiting around to find out about that.
No, the Times did a whole article about this. There was the Times article that came out where it openly admitted that, yeah, we all worked together to make sure Trump wasn't in office, and we
Right.
did what we
I
had to
remember
do. I mean,
that.
they openly admitted it. I mean, it's not really a conspiracy if they're just telling you. It's like the WEF. They tell you that there's a great reset happening. They tell you what their plans are, and they are in bed with all these different corporations. They're in bed with all these different politicians, and they all sort of mirror the same message all over. Like Build Back Better was a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
And that came from the WEF. So, hey, it's not is it a conspiracy if they're just blatantly telling you what they're doing?
So, a great show. Love this show, Justified, right? I forget at what point in the series it happened, but, the line is, and I think of this when I think of the media and how they're calling everybody assholes. Everybody's an asshole for this. Everybody's an asshole for that. And from the show, and I think this applies greatly, is if all day long everybody you see is an asshole, maybe you're the asshole. And that's kind of how I feel about the way the either side, because all they do is it's just pointing fingers. It's you're bad for this, you're bad for that. I don't even think we hear anything anymore about like abortion or gun rights. It's all now we're just hearing about the coronavirus, Ukraine, oligarchs, with just all these keywords that give us a dopamine rush, and that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that we're, as a society, just going to be become addicted to that dopamine spike, and we're not going to care what's real and what's not. We're just, put some Prozac in our water and have us just walk around like zombies. It's a frightening place to be right now.
What scares me? I don't know if you noticed this, Mike. When all the media kind of toes the same line somehow, like recently with Ukraine, like everybody started coming out about Putin and saying, I think Putin is going a little bit crazy. And then you turn the channel and the other guy's saying, yeah, I think Putin's losing his mind a little bit. And then you turn the channel again. The next guy's like, yeah, Putin's, he doesn't have it all. He's not all together anymore. It's like they all at the same time decided to start pushing this theory that Putin was going crazy. And I think they're trying to get somebody to assassinate him or something. But it's like, how did they all come up with this nonsense all at the same time?
I don't think I've said it on the show. I've definitely said it to you, Tom, and to Mike. I don't know about you, Jack, but Putin's an asshole. Yes, obviously. But when I look at him, I don't see unhinged. He seems quite reserved and quite I don't get. I mean, yes, is he evil? Yes, all that's true. I don't get that he's insane though. I think he's got a clear mind. Now, do we like what he's thinking, what he wants to do? That's a whole nother story.
It was like a plan.
But I don't get.
It was an orchestrated effort, I think, to try and undermine him to the Russian people and maybe hope that somebody takes him out or something. It was weird.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham.
Did they? Most likely, yes.
Yeah, he came right out and said it.
Yeah, Graham said right out, which I don't know if is appropriate for one of our top senators to be doing on national TV.
He missed the memo. He was supposed to say the other thing that everybody else was saying.
I think he's going a little crazy.
Right.
Well, no, there is definitely the Sinclair group. They'll put out memos bashing fake news. Like I don't know if you've ever seen here. Look, do you guys mind if I play something? Can we play something real quick, or is that gonna?
You can maybe. I don't know if you can share your screen. Oh, there you go. This kid is high tech.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
They're broadcasting and it's conservative bent. This reported that they look like.
Without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what they.
Okay, so that I'm just playing that really quickly, right? But so you can get the idea that all these news stations from all over the country are all saying the same script about fake news, right? So right now, they're doing that on local news. And so what's happening in Russia right now is that it has their top TikTokers. Now, I don't know how into TikTok you guys are, but I fucking love TikTok. And to see the war straight from people, from soldiers, you know, I'm seeing news reports that come almost in real time that come out the next day or the day after. Right. I'm seeing these crazy things happening as they're happening. And what's going on right now in Russia is that they're having their top TikTok influencers doing the same thing. So what I was just showing you with this, right? You can do that with these Russian TikTokers, and they're all saying the same script. And so what does America do? America does the same fucking thing. And so now you have a bunch of TikTokers out there who are these influencers trying to influence the youth and you know, mobilize the youth. The youth is mobilized, right? They don't got shit to lose. What do they got? They got like $10 in their pocket and they don't give a fuck. You know, they're just going to get drunk and go burn shit down. They don't care. They don't have children. They don't have a mortgage. It's not what they're thinking. They're mobilized. They can go do that. They can just go to different cities. They can go to Portland and firebomb some fucking government building. It's all good because they can do that. So they're mobilizing the youth to push this narrative, which, you know, at the end of the day, it's been a large majority of the youth who's been out there on the streets doing a bunch of crazy shit, burning shit down.
But also, Mike, to your point with the 10 top TikTokers, they invited them to the White House and admitted
on a Zoom call,
to
get the word out about what's causing high gas prices.
Right, exactly.
And they're like, okay,
hear them all say the same shit.
We'll say what you want us to say, and then they go back and start recording videos.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, to put out the word of Joe Biden.
Yeah. At JB, baby. No.
Oh, you know what else? You know what else is insidious? We were talking about Project Veritas. So I just kind of did a cursory, like I'm familiar with them. I watch some conservative podcasts, and James O'Keefe is a guest a lot on these different shows. And so I knew what he does, and I know what he does. But a lot of people rely on Wikipedia like it's the Encyclopedia Britannica. And if you look up Project Veritas on Wiki, they actually say that Project Veritas's purpose, it lists it in bold, purpose, disinformation. And if you read the first paragraph, I swear to God, and if you read the first paragraph of the Wikipedia for it, it basically is completely negative.
Yeah.
They're conspiracy theorists. They're alt-right, whatever.
Yeah,
I can't read that from here, but
so Project Veritas is an American far-right activist group founded by James O'Keefe in 2010. The group produces deceptively edited videos of its undercover operations, which use secret recordings in an effort to discredit mainstream media organizations and progressive groups. Project Veritas also uses entrapment to generate bad publicity for its targets and has propagated disinformation and conspiracy theories in its videos and operations, which led to Brookings Institute to describe them as damaging to democracy. I just want to go ahead, please.
That's the opening paragraph.
Right.
If you're that's unbelievable. It's completely one-sided
hit
opinion.
Piece right there.
That's a hit piece.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so I wanted to read this from the ACLU, which is, you know, they're supposed to stand up for free speech and all that. They still do.
Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
They defended the Nazis, the march in Oregon. Was that right?
No, Illinois.
So
I remember that.
This is from the attorney there, and this is the first line from the quote. "We deplore Project Veritas's deceptions, and we don't have a full picture of the government's investigation, but we're concerned that the precedent set by this case could have serious consequences for press freedom. We're deeply troubled by reports that the Department of Justice obtained secret electronic surveillance orders requiring sweeping disclosure of all content of communications associated with Project Veritas email accounts, including attorney-client communication. So you even have the ACLU, who's in these last couple of years have taken
They're usually your defense attorney.
Right.
How would you like them to defend you like that?
Well, no, but at least, no, Mike's right, though. Mike's right. At least they're making something of a stand saying this is troubling.
Right.
Because the last few years, they've been on one side of the fence pretty exclusively. I mean, especially when it comes to like hate speech and things like that. Like they're not defending Nazis anymore.
That what the Department of Justice did was troubling. They said that what Project Veritas did was troubling.
No, they said that. No. They said it's troubling. Reports that the Department of Justice obtained secret electronic surveillance orders requiring sweeping disclosure of all content of communications associated with Project Veritas email accounts, including attorney-client communications.
Okay.
Yeah, so they basically said we hate Project Veritas, but this is a little troubling. I mean, that's as far as they went, but I'll take it, Mike. I'll take it.
No, I love that though. I love that they were like, hey, fuck these guys. But this is really crazy that you know, you have the Department of Justice going around court ordered pauses on going through these personal devices that they just stole from, that the department that the FBI stole from the Project Veritas journalists, and they're saying like, hey, you can't do that. You can't just, like, all your shit is based on nothing. What's going on here? How can you do this? This is not how we conduct business. You know, this is not how we're supposed to be you know, doing this. And
then just doxed everybody by kind of leaking it back to the New York Times. Right. And so, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Project Veritas. I think James O'Keefe is kind of a corny ass motherfucker, but like, I do think that what's happening here is setting a precedent for freedom of speech and journalist freedom or press freedom. And as someone who does journalism, and yes, I am calling myself a journalist, goddammit.
Like Jon Stewart.
Well, you know what though, man? Look, I would say that Jon Stewart is more of a journalist now than he was back in the Daily Show days.
Yeah.
Now he's actually sitting there and he's commenting and he's making opinions and he is actually reporting some stuff. But, you know, it's mostly his opinion, and that's fine. A lot of people do that, but it's still a form of journalism, and maybe even more so than I would say back in the Daily Show days, because he even said back then is like, I'm a comedian first. I'm a comedian. That's what I do. You know, this is not, you know, why are people listening to me? Why am I the most trusted name in news when I'm just out here trying to get the laugh? But, you know,
and see, that's all I was saying. Is he transformed?
He's not going to let it go, Tom.
Never going to let it go.
It's a form of journalism, okay? It's whether
that's what I say.
It's a form.
Don Lemon is going out and getting a hot story. I don't think so.
No, he's not. But he says he is.
Yeah, he certainly does say he does things.
Mike, let me ask you.
Does a book say it's a book? No, it just is what it is. All I'm saying is I agree with Mike.
Thank you for that.
And I'm just a musician in Ohio, so don't listen to me either. So, you know.
Okay, Mike, how does Project Veritas kind of fit in with like Julian Assange and WikiLeaks? Is it like a follow-up to what was happening there? Are they're kind of in the same situation? And I know Assange is still kind of facing extradition or so. I don't know where he is.
He's still
in Russia.
Is he still in hiding?
I don't think he's in hiding. I think they got him. Don't they got him?
They got him. Yeah, he's in prison in Russia, I think.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh, not a good place to be.
No, he's not getting out.
No, he's never going to see the light of day again. They got his ass.
You're thinking of
but isn't that sort of the same thing? Because he was just kind
Absolutely.
of using like whistleblowers and leaking information, but not maliciously. He was trying to do it where he thought it would help or expose something that was wrong.
Edward Snowden and Glenn Greenwald.
Snowden, that's the guy.
Absolutely. It's all the same shit. It's any time that you uncover something that they don't want you to uncover, the powers that be don't want you to uncover, something that wasn't supposed to come out that we should probably know about. That's when they enforce these crazy, authoritarian rule, and the Constitution goes right out the window because they don't approve of what you're saying about what they're doing. So absolutely, Assange, Snowden, what's her name now? She just recently transitioned. She was
Whoopi Goldberg.
Leah Thomas?
No, not Leah Thomas. She was a whistleblower.
Bruce Jenner?
No.
Oh, his name.
What are you talking about? Transition.
Whistleblower transition.
Oh, that swimmer.
No.
I said that already.
Oh.
Chelsea Manning.
Okay.
Chelsea Manning, who was biologically born a dude, was a whistleblower who illuminated because the United States was saying that the amount of civilians and the amount of people killed in Afghanistan was on one number, and then he leaked all these documents and these videos showing like Marines just mowing down civilians, and then they actually released the real number of how many people died in Afghanistan. And they didn't like that shit. And they were gonna put him and bury him as far in the prison system as they could. But Obama, I believe Obama did the whole pardon thing. So so she's out, and now she's dating Grimes, the Elon Musk's wife or something.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I just did a story on this because
I hope it's his ex-wife. I hope.
I think it is his ex-wife because
not his current wife.
No, it's baby mama. It's his baby mama. So they have a kid together.
Okay.
And I guess
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they got some sort of. She's like a EDM artist or some shit. I don't know. I've never heard her music, but I was covering the story. Because she started dating, or at least rumors are that she's dating Chelsea Manning. So, very interesting stuff here. But these whistleblowers, it's always that, it's always when they expose something that they don't want you to know is when they feel the brunt force, and they'll go out of their way to change policy to make it so you can't do that anymore. And that's what I feel like is happening with this whole Project Veritas thing, is that they're trying to push forward past, they're trying to get past these pesky laws that they have to follow. I mean, they're just blatantly not listening to the judge. Like they blatantly, they were supposed to return the devices that they took. What was it? I wrote this down, but I can't. They've just been going around, skirting around judges' authority, and they're sort of pushing through this idea that it's okay for them to do this because they're doing it in the name of, fake news or something. They're gonna use some sort of bullshit where they're saying, like they have the New York Times. I mean, I read the New York Times article just on Sunday. They released an article saying how Ashley Biden's diary was stolen and Project Veritas was showing it around a Trump rally or something. They're doing everything they can to discredit Project Veritas and discredit this organization, and they're trying to make it so these news organizations either toe the line or they get the fuck out, right? It's like you can either fall in line or go, And that's sort of where it's going. I mean, it's when you see how right-wing media now is cast as, you know, white supremacists, and if you're a conservative, or a Republican, you're a white supremacist, or a Nazi sympathizer, you're a Putin sympathizer, you're an anti-vaxxer, you know, or a conspiracy theorist. It's all an attempt to silence the opposition. And opposition is needed. And again, I'm not a fucking conservative. I'm not one of those people who I'm not a Republican or by any means, but I do recognize that there has to be two sides of the story, and there has to be a balance, and there has to be a counterbalance, or else we're going to go too far in one direction where no one can say shit that goes against the narrative. And if you do, we'll come and fucking take you to prison, or we'll shut down your business, or we'll call you white supremacist.
You should have been on this show from go. Oh, like everything. Have you been listening to our shows? Because we say all this stuff, and we're anti-tribalism. We're, you know, polite discourse. Conspiracy versus one of the lines that we use a lot is it conspiracy or is it just choreography? Do they know it's going to happen and they just plan for it? And
I think he's the younger version of Mike. Our co-host that's not here tonight is named Mike, and you're like spouting like everything that he says. You're just younger.
I don't know how much younger. I'm almost 40, so
he claims.
Oh my God, you poor guy! How do you even get around?
I don't.
No, we're all in our 50s. So
right on.
No, but dude, you're saying so much that we say all the time. It's refreshing to hear, like, a younger somebody else who we haven't met that's saying the same stuff. And I feel like a lot of people really feel this way, but they just toe the line because God forbid you cause a stink. You know, I mean, right now I work with a person that constantly spouts off about how they're communist, and like 10 years ago, nobody'd say that. You know what I mean? It's something you keep under your hat. And now people are just like, it's just a weird world, man. I never thought this was the world that I was going to end up in, where just down is up and up is down. Cats are making love to dogs.
It's 2 plus 2 is 5. It's that whole notion. 2 plus 2 is 5, and if you don't, we'll keep. You know, they wear us down with this whole idea that 2 plus 2 is 5, and they'll just sit here and they'll shut us down. They'll silence us until we admit that I guess 2 plus 2 could be 5. And I'm making a George Orwell reference in 1984, but it's, you know, it's the same concept. They're just sort of hammering this idea, and whether it's true or not, and most of the times it's not. You know, it's like I'm not going to actually. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say, because I stopped talking about that kind of stuff. But they want, whether it's true, whether science backs it up, and then they perverted science. Right, exactly. Now they perverted science, but there is some basis to some science, right? Like there is some things, like, you know, I was born a guy, right? I'm never going to be able to have a baby, right? This is proven science. As a cisgendered male,
I will never kicked off of YouTube.
Did you just say cisgendered? Because I will kick you right the fuck off the show.
You can kick me off. But I'm just saying, for the YouTubers, as a cisgendered male, I and this is my opinion, and this is not of anyone else, as a cisgendered male, that I will never be able to have a baby. That is just scientific fact. I'm not going to go any further than that, okay? But, you know, I'm using their language, right? So they understand where I'm coming from. Because if you don't tiptoe around this shit, every time I talk about vaccines, you know, it's like, hey, everybody, make sure you go get your vaccine, but make sure you check with your doctor. Maybe you know, it might not be safe for everybody. So every time I've talked, this is a conspiracy talk. Okay, this is just for fun. We're just talking for fun. I constantly have to make a disclaimer, because I have a strike against my YouTube account. Because of my big mouth. So yeah, I get it. But what I'm saying is, I'm just drawing the example that, you know, this whole idea that even if quote unquote science backs it up, or math backs it up, or the numbers back it up. It doesn't matter. People are willing to look the other way and willing to admit that 2 + 2 is 5 if it fits a narrative and by the way, they're so afraid to step outside of that narrative because of being sort of pushed off on the ice, like just pushed off to sea. You get your Twitter account shut down, or your friends stop talking to you, or people are afraid to step out of line because everybody's trained to sort of pile on if you don't go with the narrative. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. And I appreciate the rant, Mike. That was good stuff, because I totally agree with you.
You can cut all that out, by the way.
Oh, no,
not at all.
No, I think a big part of the problem is, like, I don't know if there's a silent majority out there that's just keeping their mouths shut and knows the stuff we're talking about and knows that Wiki is bullshit and knows the existence of Substack and the alternative news sources like that, or if people really are mostly just being fed CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, NBC, CBS. Like, how many people are really hip to these alternate news sources and to conservative, let's call it conservative thinking, that science is science, that math is math? Like, are people just too afraid to speak out? And maybe that's a wise policy, or are people still mostly dumb? And I don't know.
Here's an interesting, I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. Go ahead, Zeus.
So here's my thing. It used to be that you could watch one news station and then watch another one and read between the lines, but there's no lines to read between anymore. It's brash on either side. It's clearly slanted. There's no lines to read between. They've all, it almost seems like sometimes like they're working together to keep the disinformation constantly flowing. I hate both sides as far as the media. No Fox, no CNN, fuck them all. I don't know who to listen to anymore.
But I'm saying you have your Veritas, you have your Substack. Thank God for them. You do still have places like you have Tim Pool. You have an independent thinker like Joe Rogan, who at least basically seems to have some integrity and will be one way on one issue and another on another issue, rather than just be a progressive or a conservative.
He's about the most true center we're going to see. He's truly center. He's a left guy that likes his guns and hunting.
I'm just saying, I hope more people are getting news from those types of sources, and Russell Brand, and guys that are actually citing news articles by journalists that don't work for New York Times or even Fox or CNN. Like, there are news sources out there, but you have to kind of have you got to be a little savvy, like Mike here. You got to find this stuff.
You have to look for it.
You have to look for it. And then also Google makes it harder to find stuff because of their fucking algorithms and their search engines.
But think about this though. So like, if you go to Fox and look at like the top 5 news stories, and then you go over to NBC and look at their top 5 news stories, they're completely different news stories. And back in the day, like the number 1 story was an earthquake in California. Number 2 is there's a hurricane in Florida. Number 3, there's a famine in Ethiopia. And those would be the top stories on every channel. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's like the news is not the news anymore. Everybody's got their own news. It's weird. I mean, why? It should be the same everywhere. If something's happening in the world, everybody should be reporting on it. If they have a different slant, that's one thing.
Well,
I don't even report.
How about when we had
stuff?
Yeah. So you weren't on, Tom, but it was interesting when we talked to Mitch. This guy we got from Australia. He's got a big podcast over there. The thing that because I wanted to ask him what's going on in Australia. Is it internment camps? Is it all this? And he's like, nah, man, it's They go there, they get 3 hots and a cot, they got cable TV and Wi-Fi, and then when they're cleared, they go home. It's not, he basically said it's nothing like what we hear, you know?
I still don't like it.
What's that?
I still don't like it.
But he lives there and he says it's not that bad. And like his view on guns, he changed my mind on guns. They took away their guns there and he was pleased. He was like, yeah, this isn't the place to have everybody run around with guns. And he provided some pretty interesting perspectives. And I told him I don't agree with it for the United States. I think we got to have guns here. I think it's part of our fiber. Is it a healthy part of our fiber? You know, that can be argued. But at the end of the day, where he comes from, it seems to be that is something, you know, no guns is a better place to be. I found it very interesting.
Yeah, different cultures. I get that.
And well, but see, we think in our own culture so much that we're just like, well, that's fucking crazy. It must be horrible over there. They got no guns and now they got concentration camps. And he's like, no, it's not like that. You know? No, I like it. Good.
But there was definitely places in Australia that it wasn't all of Australia, and that was the problem that I think people were having, was like they saw these couple clips of videos and they're like, that's everybody, and like that's why you don't get rid of guns. But it was like a small section, which it was crazy and fucked up and locked down, and they were doing wild shit over there and putting people in camps and stuff, but it wasn't widespread. It was like, I mean, like in Ohio, we haven't had masks on or, you know, anything like that since like a year, like going on a year and a half, since February 2020 or 2021. There's been no mask mandates. There's been none of that shit. We've just been living our lives here in Ohio. And meanwhile, in California, it was like Armageddon and fucking put on your mask, you piece of shit, and you fucking anti-vax this and that. And you look at what was going on in California, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. So it was kind of like that. There was a hot spot, but it wasn't all widespread like that. It was, you know, it was some abuse of the system in certain areas, you know. So to say it wasn't that is disingenuous, but to say it was widespread is also disingenuous. So
yeah, it was regional, Mike, right? It was like the eastern section or something.
I can't remember what I was saying. I mean, I talked to here's the thing. I talk to people from these places. Like right now, I'm going to do a whole series on artists and musicians from the Ukraine and Russia. Like I just talked to a guy from Latvia. So this is what I do. I go and I talk to the people who are part of the culture there, who are plugged into the culture. I mean, musicians and artists, we are the culture, right? So it's like so I talked to those people. During the pandemic, I was going through and I was talking to people and how they were getting by and you know, how they were, you know, how were they handling this? How were they, you know, making money now? What's different ways that we're sort of, you know, spread the word as much as possible and you know, trying to figure out what's happening in these places. My network's huge now, and so I'm going to have, you know, these other guests on that are directly in the shit, who are willing to talk to me. So, you know, that's the thing. People don't actually go out and talk to these people. And it's sort of, you know, piggyback off Jack's point, you know, people who work 9 to 5s, working overtime, had like 4 fucking kids running around, kicking them in the balls and shit. You know, like they don't have time to be watching Tim Pool and fucking reading Substack and shit. They're just going to put on Fox, or they're going to put on CNN, and they're going to listen to Brian Stelter talk to him like that, you know, and fucking fuck that guy. But like, you know, they're going to sit there and they're just going to absorb whatever it is. And that's it. That's their day, right? Like they're not going out and looking for all this shit. People are too busy. And then you have assholes like us who are just, all we do is like, oh, let's read this now and let's go over here and let's research that. And you know, it's just different mindsets, I think. And that's what ends up happening.
Us to ask questions. You know, we gotta keep asking questions.
Hey, Mike, we've been up for a while. Where can people find you?
Oh, You can find me at WeSpeakEnglishGood.com or twitch.tv/WeSpeakEnglishGood. We stream 2 days a week, Mondays and Fridays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's probably going to change, but for the month of April, that's going to be it. And then May will probably be something completely different. Oh, get the fuck out of here. Sorry, my computer says I have new firmware to update, and I'm just like, get out of here.
Don't
totally fine, man. Hey, it's a real pleasure, man. You're doing great work. I can tell just from just talking to you tonight. I'm definitely going to be tuning in myself, and I hope some of our viewers do as well.
Yeah, come on over. It's a good time.
Yep.
You are what we like to call a good get. This is a great conversation. And I knew it actually when I talked to you on the phone the other day. It was like instantly. I was like, we were just rapping, man, like from go. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'd be excited to hop if we could hop on your show at some point later and kind of just spread the word. Just
that'd be awesome.
Different perspective.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I would definitely be into that. I can send you guys my my schedule and see if you guys. I know that you work nights, right, Zeus? So like that might be a problem if we do something today. But maybe we can figure out like a night stream or something. While I have April and I have the time, I want to do more streams. So if that means, maybe we do something like at this time or something on a Wednesday or something, if that works for everybody, maybe we could do something like that. But I usually do my 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Monday and Friday. That's my stream time. But again, because I have the time in April, I really want to dig in and get as much streaming in as possible. And sure. I got a bunch of cool guests coming up. Like I got a bunch of Sony artists who are on the spiritual side, they sing gospel and they sing different praise music and stuff. So like I talk like this and I talk, I cuss a lot, but I also don't mind talking to people because I'm not a very godly guy. I don't, I'm not trying to shit on God or anything like that for anybody, but like, I'm not into that whole thing. So, but to talk to people who have devoted their life to something and devote their talent and devote like their very essence of being to this higher purpose, I find that inspiring and beautiful. So, we have all kinds of different guests on, but I try to keep it musicians or keep it completely political. So it'll either be artists or this is a political one, because let me tell you, the people on Twitch, they are so fragile. They're so fragile. I've lost a lot of lost a lot of community members because they don't agree with my politics, and it's just like I'm sorry, but this is how I feel. And a lot of times in these conversations I have with musicians, we slip into politics, and it's just what happens because my show's not scripted. I don't send them a list of questions, and if they send me a list of questions, it usually goes ignored. I don't really go by their list of because that's not how my show works. I want to have an organic conversation, and so
exactly.
So that's how I do it. And if we were doing something political like this, obviously I don't mind having topics to cover, but for the most part, it's like you're coming on my show, we're just gonna chat. That's what's happening. And if you have an agenda, that's fine. I don't mind pushing your album and stuff, but I'm going to get what I want out of this conversation, because it's not a like, and then when did you start playing your instrument? And then what does that mean? Your band name? What is the toe lickers mean? Like, I don't care. I want to know what you are thinking and what you're made of, because that's what comes out in your music, not some fucking pre-made, pre-packaged idea of what you think you are. It's like, I want to know who the fuck you are and why people should listen to you.
That sounds great.
So,
love it.
That's my show.
Well, hey, Mike, do you have anything else you want to plug, man?
No, that's it, man. It's just my Twitch stream. You know, come on over, throw some love over here on the Twitch, or you can go to my website. You can find my whole catalog of podcasts.
Oh, cool.
There's a whole 416 of them. So go and jump in, kids. there's lots to listen to. A lot of bullshit rambling. So.
All right, cool, man. Thanks for joining us tonight.
It's been a blast, fellas. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
So Jack has a few words he likes to say at the end of every episode, but we do want to talk to you afterwards for a second.
Yeah, okay. Well, without further ado, we've been on for a while, gentlemen. I think it's time to wrap things up. In case you didn't get that.
Yeah, I think all right, guys.